Do we have an extra book?
No, there's not.
We get to steal Connie's.
No.
We have.
When did they last update their numbers?
26.4.
Yeah, that's recent.
It would move me. Sorry.
Way to cause trouble.
Sorry. I didn't look at it. Are we ready? Okay, howdy all. We're going to call open the meeting. It is 12:01 and we are opening the meeting for SRWA. We are in the PUB board room. So first of all, confirmation of a quorum.
Confirmed.
Okay, great. So we'll move on, and do we have any public comments?
No public comments.
Sounds good. Okay, so moving on, we'll go to the first action item. Consideration and possible action on approval of the April 2nd, 2026 Southmost Regional Water Authority Board meeting minutes.
Motion, Mr. President.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes. Moving on to item number 2, the General Manager's Report, and we'll start with the Operational Chemical Optimization and Financial Report. Jacob?
Thank you, Dr. Holman, members of the board, and here we have Jacob Galvan attending the meeting to provide the information stated.
My name is Jacob Galvan. I'll be presenting the production distribution report for the month ended March 31st, 2026. On tab 2 of your board binders, we have the SRWA water distribution summary and true-up estimate. And I'll start on column C, where the SRWA total distribution was 1,270.519 million gallons for a daily average of 6.981 million gallons. On column F, we have the distribution for BPUB. The year-to-date is 1,185.932 million gallons for a daily average of 6.516 million gallons. On column G, we have the distribution for Valley Mud number 2. The year-to-date was 31.812 million gallons for a daily average of 0.175 million gallons. On column H, we have the distribution for Los Fresnos. The year-to-date is 23.553 million gallons for a daily average of 0.129 million gallons. On column J, we have the credit for B&D. The year-to-date is 26.681 million gallons for a daily average of 0.147 million gallons. On column J, we have the allocation for Indian Lake. The year-to-date is 2.541 million gallons for a daily average of 0.014 million gallons. Below, we have the true-up estimate, where BPUB is over by 5.49 million gallons. Valley Mud number 2 is under by 0.078 million gallons, and the city of Los Fresnos, is over by 5.41 million gallons. On the next page, we have the production and distribution report for the month of March 2026. On the third column from the left, we have the SRWA total water produced. The total for the month was 216.207 million gallons for a daily average of 6.974 million gallons. On the last column, or the first column on the right-hand side, we have the total water distributed. The total was 220.139 million gallons for a daily average of 7.101 million gallons. And below that, we have the chemical consumption cost for the month. The total was $118,879.14. And below that, we have the electrical consumption cost for the month. The total was $108,922.99. On the next page, we have events that reduce water production. On the 17th, we're down 9 hours to replace some check valves on the concentrate and permeate ROs for RO C, D, and F. The total was 9 hours. On the next page, we have the iron, manganese, and arsenic removals. All the dosages remain the same, and all the parameters were below the limits. We did reach out to SBO on the February 13th for the iron, and yeah, they advised us that they use a different instrument, and with each instrument they have different, they calibrate them, right, and they have different detection limits for each instrument that they use. So that's why there was a difference on that iron.
Okay, just a small question, and not to be thought about too hard, but what do you think about reducing our chlorine? Since we're below testable limits, I believe it's chlorine for iron. Something we can talk about later. But
The chlorine dioxide or the chlorine, or?
what is it? Chlorine dioxide is to help remove precipitate iron.
Right, the 0.3.
Yeah. What do you think about bringing that down further, since we're below testable limits?
We could definitely test it to see if we still get removal, right? Right, so we still, we can definitely test that. In April, we did start blending again, 5%.
Right.
And we got new numbers, and you'll see that on the next meeting. You'll see we have different, we also tried, we went back up a little bit just to tweak, just to verify what we got. But we went up in chlorine dioxide, but we're back at 0.3.
Oh, okay.
But you'll see that, just to verify if there was extra removal or not. But we'll share that next month, unless you want them sooner. Or,
I'll probably send you an email,
But yeah, we can look into that. On the next page, we have the ROs and wells that were on during the sample collection, which was on March 6th. On the next page, we have the graphing of the manganese with a 0% blend. On the next slide, we have a graph of the arsenic at a 1.0 ferric. It was non-detectable. Sorry, I guess the graph didn't come. We missed the graph, right? The actual bar for the results, but it was a non-detect. On the next page, we have a graph comparing water production and distribution for fiscal year 25 and 26. On the next page, we have the graph comparing water plant productions for Bronzeville's 3 water plants, where SRWA contributed with 30.79% of Bronzeville's water demand. So this was a new graph that we included, right, showing the service calls over the months. And you can see where August 5th, where that's when we had closed the blend line, right, and the calls have decreased since. And then here we just kind of graphed, kind of like like the areas where these areas of Brownsville, right, where the service calls were at. Just kind of in general, you could see the north. And that concludes my presentation.
Just out of curiosity, have we checked with our other partners to see if they get yellow water service calls at their utilities? Yeah.
We
I don't
talk
think
to
they would
them
know
every
to
so
call
often.
us.
I can ask them if they had issues. I haven't really heard them mention anything to us,
Okay.
but I do talk to them every now and then, and definitely like on a monthly basis, because they send in all their meter readings.
Okay.
So yeah, I can reach out to them.
It's worth just double checking.
So Dr. Holman, as an example, we have one of the partners, I'm going to point out to the port, their point of interconnection from us happens to be at a different part of our system, so likely the water going to them
Sure.
happens to be from our water
From our
plant, number one,
plants.
the one
Yeah,
from the
okay.
river, so it's likely surface water. And so with Los Fresnos, they're probably the closest partner there, but it's also another interconnection, it's not a direct connect. Now, Rancho may have a different story because but they're also doing RO system, so the technology there, when it blends, it's, I think, something that might be okay. But we'll go back and see if there's any type of discolored water in the systems and what it's attributed to. So,
We have had some calls.
you have had some calls? Okay, so then that answers your question, Dr. Holman, so, and I'm not sure about Los Fresnos.
I don't believe Los Fresnos has had, if there have been, it hasn't been many. I'll double check though.
And it's probably likely the way and where they're actually connected on the system, and where it becomes an issue, and where we have it when it comes and blends into our system.
Right.
Yeah, so you guys don't.
I know the important for point, it's manganese in there, it's completely safe to drink. There
Right.
is not an issue with the drink of, any type of pathogen that is harmful for consumption.
Right, right. Nothing harmful.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So now we continue with the financial report with Mr. Jorge Santillan.
Good afternoon, Mr. President and members of the board. Jorge Santillan, Finance Manager. And I will go over selected O&M financial information as of March 31st, 2026. We're beginning with the operating revenues and expenses. And we're going to be looking at the last column, the FY26 year-to-date. Beginning with member assessments, 3,895,682. From this amount, we minus line number 10, which is total operating expenses, of 3,057,088. This results in operating income of 838,594. From this amount, we add line number 18, which is the sum of the net non-operating revenues and expenses of 81,154. There were no capital contributions, so this we add this amount to this amount results in line number 21, a change in net position of 919,748. We add this amount to the net position at the beginning of the year, and results in a net position at the end of March of $27,808,483. This next two pages, this is a new format of the expenses by classification, type, and account. And on the first column, we have the type, then the accounts on the second column. Here, then we're showing the budget for the fiscal year. We have then the year-to-date actuals, so actuals to the month of March. And then we show the budget balance. And then the last column, we have the percentage of budget spent, and ideally, we want to be at 50% or less, representing the 50% of the fiscal year. And all the classifications there at less than 50%. Looking at the grand total at the last page, the total year-to-date actuals, 2,380,752, which leaves a budget balance of 3,115,232, and represents the percentage of budget spent through March, 43.3%. And this concludes my presentation. Any questions?
I think we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're moving on with the drought update. Mr. Jaime Flores.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the board. My name is Jaime Flores, Water Resources Administrator, and I'll be giving you the drought update. U.S. combined ownership at Amistad and Falcon reservoirs as of April 25th, 2026 is 26.4%. U.S. combined ownership at Amistad and Falcon, as you look back on April 4th, is 25.4, April 11th, 25.5, April 18th, 26.2. So we do actually see a trend upwards. It had been going down, and we do believe that's because of some of the rain that we received in the mountains in Mexico. National Weather Service May to July 2026 outlook for the Lower Rio Grande Valley, Deep South Texas region. A hotter than normal outlook is anticipated through the May through July 2026 period. Precipitation outlook remains a toss-up across the region during this time frame. Falcon International Reservoir remained near historic lows at the end of April. Confidence remains high, near certain 100% on total reservoir storage remaining just above record lows through July. as we go through the May through July time period. Severe thunderstorms with winds, hail, tornadoes, heavy rainfall, and localized flooding has to be taken into consideration as the prospects for showers and storms could increase. That concludes my presentation. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know about y'all, but I've only had 2 inches of rain this year, so not hopeful.
Okay. Moving on, we have our grant activity update, and this is only for the SRWA. So, Dr. Holman, you'll be receiving a separate presentation of the overall activities for PUB.
We did in the Finance Committee already, so yeah.
Yes. Good afternoon, President and members of the board. I am Miriam Suarez, Senior Grants Coordinator based out of the Finance Division, and I am here today to provide a grant activity update for SRWA. I begin with the announcement of a recently awarded hazard mitigation grant in the amount of $1.2 million for the installation of backup generators for 11 of the well sites. The total project cost is $1.3 million, and SRWA's local match is 10%, or about $132,000. The next tile includes a data from 2019 to present on the previously submitted grant requests totaling about $46.6 million for various projects, including the Wells fiber optic, plant expansion, and plant optimization. And we are currently working with the SRWA team to identify projects that align with the current funding opportunities. And we anticipate that we will be submitting an application for BRIC in early June. And again, we will continue exploring priority projects, and so we can continue to submit grant applications to the available opportunities. And so this concludes my presentation. I am available to answer any questions.
I do want to note a little bit of more information on here. For the Building Resilient Infrastructure in Communities, that's under FEMA and TDEM. That's a program that was recently reestablished and brought back. And so that's what we're looking very closely to submitting under that. Although we didn't get awarded under previous, we're going to submit the same applications that we did previously and try and leverage some of the funds that we have available. When we were awarded for SRWA a plant expansion, it was a very small amount. That means 5% of the federal funding and 95% local, which we thought that there was other grant opportunities that could be leveraged at a higher percentage. I bring that to your all's attention because if you hear that why are we returning federal funds, well, it doesn't make sense when there's other programs that have a higher matching funds and less strains on the local contribution.
And I'm glad that you're thinking like that, because sometimes it's not cost efficient to go for something that we're gonna end up paying more for it.
Yes.
That's a great job on that.
And some of the federal programs also have the ability for us, if once we accept it, then we're not eligible any other federal funding. So then that means that we don't have the ability to bifurcate or do anything differently and add for additional funding. Anything that we can do in grant, like the grant that we got for well optimization, that's going to not only increase our resiliency for the project, but also it will give us less money that our partners have to pay towards these improvements. We know that we need the improvements to make sure that the wells are running, and this is not in a PEB single certified area. This is in an AEP certified area, and it's off radio, in a radio. For some of you that were not here during that time, we've had an extensive discussion about the electrical requirements for the well sites, and we'll be happy to bring back that discussion and part of the optimization study to you all to see how we're doing and what we're doing to ensure that when the plant does come down, that we are able to operate it and keep on operating with the same production level.
Thank you.
Okay, and we have our quarterly investment report now.
Good afternoon, board members, Mr. President. My name is Lupe Renado. I'll be going over the slides here. There are slides on this presentation. The first two are the main ones of the presentation. This report is prepared for the Southmost Regional Water Authority in accordance with Chapter 256 of the Public Funds Investment Act. Section 2256.023A of the PFI states that not less than a quarterly, the investment officer shall prepare and submit to the governing body of the entity a written report of the investment transactions for all funds covered by this chapter for the preceding reporting period. This report, which covers a quarterly ended March 31st, 2026, is signed by the investment officers and includes the disclosures required by the PFIA. The investment portfolio complies with the PFIA and SRWA's approved investment policy and strategy throughout the quarter. All investments and transactions are made in the SRWA's portfolio during the quarter were made on behalf of the SRWA and in full compliance with the PFIA and SRWA's approved investment policy. I'll go over the section in the middle right here. We have 4 areas, 4 total asset class. The first one is bank deposit with Wells Fargo. We have a market value of $620,325. A percent of portfolio was 4.13%. Yield to maturity 3.32%. The next asset class under title column A is certificate deposits. Total market value $3,607,000. $607,000. Percent of portfolio 24%. Yield to maturity 4.02. The third asset class on column A is investments in pools. Market value $8,758,246.98. Percent of portfolio is going to be 58.27%. Yield to maturity 3.68%. And the last asset class on here is money market. On here, market value is $2,044,137,039. Percent of portfolio is 13.6%. Yield to maturity 3.55%. Total investments of $15,029,079.72 with a yield to maturity averaging 3.73%. A breakdown of that first slide is presented on here. We have bank deposits with Wells Fargo, both insured and collateralized. Total market value on here is $620,325.35. Yield to maturity 3.32%. Certificate deposits, we have total of 15 CDs, total of $3,607,000. The yield range between is 3.86% and 4.48%. The next category on here, investment in pools. We have various pools on there. Total market value $8,758,246.98. Yield to maturity 3.68%. Money market fund with U.S. Bank. Total market value $2,044,137.39. Yield to maturity 3.55%. Total investments $15,029,709.72. Total maturity yield is 3.73%. We benchmark our investments are here against the 3-month Treasury bill. As of March 31st, the 3-month Treasury bill averaged 3.61%. Our yield on portfolio yield is 3.7, which exceeds that by 12 basis points. The rest of the slides are very supplemental information. If you have any questions, this would conclude my presentation.
Looks great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, on to the next action item. Consideration and possible action to approve the professional engineering services contract with Half Associates for the Southmost Regional Water Authority manganese study.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the board. My name's Marie Leal, and I am the Director for Water, Wastewater Engineering and Capital Planning. Before I present our actual board item for the manganese study, I'm going to present a very brief history and a little bit of background information on manganese in our SRWA system. This presentation was provided by Ms. Ashley Pfeiffer, PhD, with half associates. Also part of the team is Guillermo Delgado, and I believe they're both virtually if there's any questions from the half team. General information on historical occurrences within the BPB water distribution system. The first one is the US EPA and TCEQ have set the limits, for the secondary limits for the manganese at 0.05 milligrams per liter. As you can see on this slide, aside from Canada being even lower requirements, everyone else's are higher, ranging from the EPA health advisory for infants, for adults, and the WHO health guidelines. They're all higher, in other words, less stringent limits than the ones that we have here in Texas. This chart represents the manganese levels that come into the Southmost Regional Water Authority. The one at the top is the raw water coming in from, of course, out of the well field. And it ranges from anywhere 0.08 to 0.09, right under the 0.10 limit. The point of entry into our distribution system, that means after the water has been treated, is, you can tell from the chart, is anywhere from 0% to less than 0.01. So it's well below the required 0.05 limits. And this chart covered the last, pretty much that we've been tracking this, well, it's always tracked, but specifically because of yellow water incidents, this summarizes the last 2 years.
Do we have older data?
I'm sure we do. I'm sure that the SRWA staff has older data than that.
Okay. It might be nice just to dig that up so that we can look at trends from the beginning.
Correct.
But, so the big take-home point is right now we're below the Health Canada aesthetic objective.
The Canada and ours.
And ours.
Yes,
I mean, yes.
and ours.
So the most stringent, we're well below that right now.
Correct.
So that's good.
That is correct. So why does discolored water happen? They can have a variety of sources and levels, of course, of safety. Manganese is a common nuisance for colored water. For example, black water can be any of these products. It can be granularly activated and powdered activated carbon. It can be rubber, and it can be manganese. The yellow water can be iron, manganese, sand, and dirt. The last one, sand and dirt, that the biggest impact from that in our system is from construction sites. Sometimes we have to connect to our main distribution line, so at the time of flushing, perhaps the contractor left their connection point not flushed enough and stuff, so that can contribute sand and dirt, which causes the light tint on the water. Red can mean the iron, manganese, or organic carbon. Blue-green, I don't think we've ever seen that in our system, and that's copper, manganese, or organic carbon. And of course, one more that is fairly common when it does happen is white and gray in color, and that means air, plastic, calcium carbonate, or aluminum. Air is another contribution that comes from construction sites. There's air that gets in when we stop flows or they introduce new connections. Sometimes air gets trapped in the lines, and that causes this cloudy water. That may happen, and you let it sit, and it dissipates because it's just air. It's not actually particles. Manganese accumulates these minute traces of manganese that accumulates inside our lines can be released into the water at higher levels than at the entry point. That means they occur after it leaves our SRWA plant. It could be the pH, the water chemistry change, alkalinity, oxidants, and it can be the flow direction or the velocity. Again, this is the startup, any startup of new pumps. If for whatever reason SRWA is down and there would be a slight change in flow directions, all of this dislodge the small particles that could be accumulated in the pipelines, causing the yellow tint in the water. And lastly, vibrations or physical disturbances. Again, this the main thing that we've noticed is at times that we've put high-pressure pumps in line, and the velocities and the pressure are higher than the normal flow, then there's a spike in dislodgement of manganese, and therefore we know that there's going to be spikes in the reports of yellow water. This chart is information that we have from a service request. Again, it gives, this was, I think, the whole year of 2025 per month. There was quite a spike from May to July of last year that were more reports of yellow water incidents that came in. And again, this is manganese that accumulated inside the distribution system and eventually were released because of any one of the previous incidents that I talked about. This is what.
Excuse me, Ms. Leal?
Yes.
Question on that last slide. When we have an incident where somebody calls in of dark water, that water, is it tested for manganese, or are we just assuming it's manganese?
No, absolutely. Our labs go out and completely test the water. And of course, our operation handles the flushing until it completely gets cleared out of the system or that particular area. And then we get a full chemistry background on whatever sample,
In that
the sample.
particular area we talk about, are we talking about a subdivision? Are we talking about a block?
And now, this is this map. So some of for example, the entire year, or the ones that you just saw in a graph form, this is more like the hotspot areas. You can see that they're accumulated more definitely on the northwest portion of the city. Some of those are very close to the SRWA in the Los Pinos subdivision area by the sports park, and the darker blue, those are like Heritage Way, those accumulation of those subdivisions along Alton Glore on the west side of the expressway. There's also some incidents that occur off of the west edge of Paredes Line Road, which is just south of the FM 511.
So when we do these tests, to pull on this thread a little bit, what information do we get? I mean, obviously manganese levels, pH levels, and everything else?
I think they run all the minerals, the ferric, manganese. I'm sure that Jose Armando Garza can. Iron as well.
Okay.
So they do all the limits.
And do you keep all that in a database, or is it all just on a printout?
No, those are in databases, and the reports that are produced by the lab. Of course, we have access to that.
Can I get that data, especially if pH is involved, just so? Yeah, just be interesting to see what that looks like compared to what we have coming out of the plant. And do you test at one point, or do you go to, let's say it's Marilyn's house, do you go to her neighbors and test there as well, or is it just that house?
I think it's just that house. I might be wrong, and I'm talking about there was an incident near my neighborhood, and I know that they took a sample from mine. I think they might have also taken some at the flushing point nearby, could have been 3 houses away is where there was a fire hydrant.
Okay.
But specifically, they took a sample from mine.
Okay, and so normally we'll hit the flushing point because you got to know when to stop flushing. I
Correct.
guess. And then also the house it's happened at. Okay, that would be interesting information to see then.
Okay. So this is how we get to the need for the manganese study and the recommended tasks and next steps. So this study's going to task three main points: to evaluate the water treatment plan and the BPB distribution system and develop discolored water mitigation strategies. The first one is going to evaluate the treatment alternatives, and there's specifically they're going to consider 3 different treatment options. The first one will bypass the reverse osmosis and treat it with free chlorine, which we call green sand treatment. The second evaluation alternative will be to inject sodium permanganate in lieu of the chlorine dioxide. Chlorine dioxide is the treatment that we currently use. And then lastly, another alternative can be to eliminate the bypass or the blending altogether, and then of course all water passes through the RO. And as we know, the more water that passes through the RO is the more chemical usage and the more expense. So the optimum is to try to blend as much as we can. The second main task is to address the legacy manganese in the distribution system. Okay, and we're going to go over a little bit of flushing events, sampling, swabbing, other cleaning methods. That's to get rid of that accumulated minute traces of manganese that we feel are already in our distribution system. And then the last main task is to evaluate the RO system to increase the capacity. And currently, the plant is in need of replacing membranes already. So this study will include some membrane evaluation and maybe some new types of membranes that have come in the market, and evaluate those. And we're at a point of having to replace them also because of their just life expectancy on them. So that's the plan of the major points that will be covered by the study. And this is just a configuration of the things that I went over, the different alternatives. The top one is to eliminate the bypass. The second one, alternative 2, is the green sand filter type of treatment. Alternative 3 is the permanganate pre-oxidation. And then the one extra one is to separate the chlorine dioxide feed and the microfiltration for bypass. So the manganese accumulation will be assessed. This is the manganese that we talked about that may already be in our distribution lines, and these are some of the typical ways in which we can clear out the lines. You can go with conventional flushing, and of course, a concern for that is we're in a drought system, and the amounts of water that it would take for conventional flushing. Zero discharge flushing
And this is what we do right now, just
correct.
quickly, right?
Correct. Zero discharge flushing is where you gather and you put the water back into some sort of a truck or containment. Unidirectional flushing is the one where we strategically change the direction of the flow by pushing more water, say, from the surface water plants and less from SRWA. That would change, and by using valves in our system, and you change the direction of the flow, therefore it dislodges the manganese that could be accumulated in the pipes. Ice pigging, and that I think is more aggressive type, where you run mechanical means through the pipes, swabbing, and also abrasive pigging. Then that's even the most abrasive type of cleaning in the pipes. So they're going to evaluate the different types and how we would go about doing them, and then implement some of those. This is just, again, a photographic view of what we just talked about. The abrasive pigging is where you technically run a mechanical means through the pipeline to clear it out. And then lastly is the RO membrane evaluation. This is to provide a path to increase treatment capacity and chemical stable finished water. They will evaluate new membranes, models, and more treatment capacity. They will maximize the use of the existing facilities and optimize additives used for remineralization. And again, I think there may be some more better models or better availability of different types of membranes that may be more efficient and even more price competitive to the ones that we've traditionally used. If you have any questions before I move to the actual board item, I'll be glad to answer, or we can get Dr. Pfeiffer or Mr. Delgado from HAF to help us answer your questions.
Ms. Leal, we're currently treating raw water from 0.08 level down to a 0.01. What is HAF saying that we're going to get to, or why are we trying to get better than 0.01?
Not necessarily that, and I might be answering on their behalf, not that we don't need to get, we don't need to get it lower than 0.01. We need to clear it from our system. I think that would be one of the first priorities. And we need to make the methodology that we use to keep it, say, at 0.01 or maybe even at 0 if it's decided to add the green sand filtering or any of the other methods.
But I think we all agree the problem is the manganese accumulation in the pipes, not in the treatment. We're at 0.01.
Correct, yes. But also, what effect to our membranes, you know? So that's another thing, and another reason for evaluating the membranes is, could we improve the wear and tear or make them go longer on, you know, with a more efficient treatment, you know?
It seems
overall.
like the membrane study is almost separate from the manganese. I mean, there is some overlap, but yeah, the membrane
Correct.
study is, hey, we want to make our plant better, and then also we can get a better a benefit with manganese. We will, but so it just trying to untangle some of it a little bit.
And maybe, I don't know, if Ashley, if you could hear us, maybe, I'm sure she'd be even better at answering your question.
Yes, ma'am. So I would add that with this study, we're looking to get the manganese as low as possible while also maximizing the amount of water that goes from your wells and actually into the distribution system. So that brings in looking at different treatment alternatives. It also looks at being able to run the membranes in a more efficient way so that your water actually makes it to the distribution system at high quality.
So, and I'm sorry, I'm going to have to call you Ashley. I forgot your last name.
Pfeiffer.
Oh, here we go. Dr. Pfeiffer, Pfeiffer, sorry. In your experience, I mean, you know, we're a very, very low manganese level. I mean, you know, as we stated, well below about half of the Health Canada aesthetic objective. have you seen this problem in similar systems with this level of manganese?
So over time, it will happen because you're putting millions of gallons of water through the pipes, and those tiny traces of manganese add up over time. You know, that you're looking at, I believe it's 20 years of buildup from this level or higher levels of manganese. So it happens. You just want to maximize the amount of time before the buildup starts becoming an issue.
So we're at the buildup point, I mean, which has kind of been my assumption all along, which means that we have to somehow aggressively, whatever that might be, treat kind of the pipes more than worry about what's happening at the plant for reducing the current yellow water issue. Yeah, we do need our treatment to improve, yeah, so that we get longer times before, yeah, we have to worry about this happening again. But we're at the point now where we're going to have to do something to the pipes, is what it sounds like.
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, just important data point there. Thank you. What else do you got?
And I would like to add to what Dr. Pfeiffer and Marie have said. This is Guillermo Delgado from HAF as well. I'm a reverse osmosis specialist. Actually, I'm a subject matter expert. And one of the concerns with your current treatment is that you're using quite a bit of oxidant, in this case, chlorine dioxide. And this chemical is very detrimental for the membranes. So there's always a risk that there might be some leakage or passage of that particular chemical into your reverse osmosis membranes, damaging the membranes permanently. So this study aims to address that issue as well, to minimize the use of oxidants, and even go to the way to eliminate the use or use sodium permanganate. Thank you.
Ms. Len, I have one question for you. On HAP's task order.
Wait, you got to talk into the microphone.
Ms. Len, on task order 4, 5, and 6 of HAP's thing, do they send this out somewhere, I would imagine, to do the actual?
The testing?
Yes.
Yes,
correct.
sir. Yes.
Okay.
That, there's going to be a couple of steps of collaboration. They're going to be collaborating with our consultant, for example, that performed our master plan.
Correct.
Because the master plan included modeling of our system, so they'll be having to collaborate with them. And then, of course, yes, there will have to be some bench testing done both at the plant locally, and then some that will be sent off.
And my question was because of the amounts. That's why.
Yes. Yes, and for example, task 3, if you look at, well, right now when we get to the board item, task 3 has a bench scale testing.
Correct.
Yes.
That one I get is the other ones, the evaluation and the, on 5 and 6, that I wanted, that you were taking it somewhere else because it's a pretty hefty price there.
Yeah, and I think task 5 is probably, it's a little bit tedious. That's the most tedious because we have to actually collaborate all the field work. If we're actually going to be reversing flows, it'll be a lot of boots on the ground type of work for that one.
Okay, that's, the numbers pop up to me, and that's why I'm just looking.
Any other questions?
Yeah, to pull on that thread a little bit, I'm just going to repeat. Okay. Yeah, can you talk about the bench scale testing a little bit and how it differs from the stuff we already do in-house?
Actually, Dr. Pfeiffer, do you want to answer how the bench test specifically, what types you're going to be doing at the SRWA or being sent off to outer labs?
Yes, ma'am. So some of the bench scale testing will include kinetic testing for different oxidants so that we can see exactly how long it's taking chlorine dioxide versus chlorine versus permanganate to oxidize the contaminants in the water and make sure that we're not recommending something that's going to have iron precipitating out, say, on your membranes, and then also just get the dosing dialed in. We'll have some extra filters to look at dissolved and particulate manganese that you might not be using in everyday lab work as well.
So just to check, will this be on a bench or will this be actually in our system? And you'll just be using our water?
The bench testing will be on the bench there at the plant. Dr. Delgado and I plan to be there conducting the testing in person.
Any other questions?
I guess those items, task 3 and 4, I'm just concerned what we're trying to accomplish there, being that we already do testing ourselves, and being that we're already bringing our water from a 0.08 to a 0.01 level. I don't understand exactly what we're going to acquire with $100,000 worth of expense. You know, we continue to talk about addressing the legacy issues of manganese in our system. And I think we all agree on that being the problem. So, just commentary.
Right. Well, 3 and 4, I mean, they're quite different. Task 3 is the testing, like she just described, the bench scale testing, whether it be done at the SRWA or be sent off. That will be done, however, by the consultant themselves, not by our staff. It's different from the daily type of testing that staff is required to do for TCQ. And then task 4 is actually the body of that we just went over, of the different alternative methods that will be considered and studied. And if needs to be tested with outcomes, then those will be separate from the bench testing.
So will that actually, so, you know, we're talking about the manganese treatment alternative evaluations. Is that we're going to be trying stuff on the bench there, or is that going to be, hey, we're going to be writing up a report based off? I mean, yeah, what does that bias task for?
And Dr. Pfeiffer can answer that as far as what they plan to do. Do they plan to actually construct a mini green sand? That's what your question is at, right? A mini testing or just in theoretical reports? Ashley?
Yes, so the main point of the bench testing is the chemical optimization, but we will also look to have a small benchtop green sand set up so that we can look at that as well. I mean, at the end of the day, we want to come across with the alternative, with the chemical usage that is going to lower your chemical costs every month, lower loss of water every month, and pay back this investment in testing with long-term savings and maintaining low to no manganese levels leaving your plant.
And to answer your question, Dr. Holman, it's, for example, they will be including injection points ahead of the trains or after the trains, depending on what process it is that they're doing. Under task 4, for example, letter D is, it says the chlorine dioxide trains that will be, it'll be injection points ahead of the microfiltration trains. So they will be doing some physical injection and or experimentation on the actual system, in the system within the plant. Make it clear, it's not something that we're going to be doing with the outgoing finished water, but it'll be controlled in the plant, where they actually will implement it into the treatment flow.
Okay, so we have several hundred milligrams of manganese that are released into our system every day. What would we expect this to improve our performance by? Yeah.
As far as million gallons per day type of production,
Well, I mean, so we already know we're gonna get a better filter system, so we're gonna get hopefully longer, time between failure for those filters, because we're reviewing that. We're going to optimize our chemical usage, and that's part of this process. And then the other thing is, we're going to reduce the amount of manganese
Right.
going into the system. Do we have a rough order of magnitude on what we can expect from this process? I mean, I'm sure we have experience.
I mean, the overall process will not only, it'll allow us to hopefully blend additional water, which the output will be better quality, but also the volume going out will be more. And the money savings in a more, whichever type of membranes we go with, that should be some money savings in there as well as the performance of the plant overall. So
I mean,
the-
I want to be careful about better quality. Yeah, our water already beats every
Right,
single standard
without
out
the,
there,
without the
so-
aesthetic.
Without that concern, yeah, and that's my question is, how much better? Like, we are reducing manganese by some percentage. We've done this in other plants elsewhere, I'm assuming. And maybe this is a question for, and Dr. Pfeiffer, sorry.
So the testing would confirm any decreases in manganese levels coming out.
But what kind of decrease can we expect from going through this process? Rough, back of the envelope guess.
Ideally, you get down to non-detect going out.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Sorry, it would be going from where you are now, ideally to non-detect after the optimization.
What is the normal detectable threshold for manganese? Do you know?
It would depend on the method. It's in the upper microgram per liter range.
Sorry, microliter range?
Microgram per liter.
Microgram. Okay. So we'd be dropping, well, maybe by an order of magnitude then, because we're already in the microgram range, right? Okay. Any other?
Yes, just to add to yes, the plant current treatment is not optimally designed to remove manganese. That's why the reverse osmosis membranes are in such a risk, because you are using a significant amount of chlorine or an oxidant that puts the membranes in danger. And the idea is to minimize that risk by evaluating these alternatives to treat the manganese appropriately without the risk of damaging the membranes. But that's why the bench scale testing is so important. We need to test it at the plant because we're testing kinetics, right? We cannot collect a sample and send it to a lab that will take days to run. We have to collect the sample and run it immediately. And that's the main part, the kinetics, how long it takes to oxidize the manganese. Otherwise, you put the chemical and it precipitates in your membranes, and that's affecting your system. So it's a multi-variable problem that we want to solve with this study.
Okay, so, and just kind of spitball, at the end of this study, we would expect, a pretty good plan forward for, how to update our system, and this includes our microfiltration system, our chemical treatment system, specifically for manganese, but maybe other stuff. we would get a good idea of what our predicted manganese level would be coming out of the plant at some % blend. We would get a good idea of maybe how long our filters will last, as long as we, stay within operational limits of it. And also, and a good idea of what RO membranes we're going to be moving forward with, and how long those would last, and how we would expect them to perform. And then also an idea of what kind of either pigging or flushing needs to occur so that we can remove existing manganese in our line, which is what's currently causing our water to look yellow at times. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes. And also establish a preventive maintenance also in our distribution lines.
That's very important. Okay.
On that note, Ms. Bear, when was the last time that we did this? Has this been done before?
No,
This was the first time? Okay.
Correct.
So it's very important to keep this information for future reference.
correct.
This is basically, I guess, making up for 26 years of operation? Yeah.
Yeah. Should have been a long time.
Yes, yes.
Any
Any-
other questions?
No, sir. I'm good.
I don't have a question per se, just a statement. Mr. Pace and myself had the opportunity a few weeks ago to go visit the treatment plant, and I'll say a couple words about that in a little bit, but one of the things that I learned there was the life of our RO filters are actually really good. And previously in the past, they had gone to a different type of filter to hopefully, with the idea of providing cost benefit. Unfortunately, the life of those didn't quite amount to what we had, so we went back to the original filters, which are just rocking and rolling for us. So I do just want to kind of caution, I don't know if at the end of this, and I'd like for everyone to just keep it in mind, that if we get just like a little bit of better of a manganese output, I still think we need to do a cost-benefit analysis for those filters before we make any changes to the ongoing operations for the plant.
Actually, I completely agree. That's a very good point. Yeah, making sure that we're not optimizing for along one axis, we're optimizing across
Correct.
the entire matrix is
And,
important.
and I'm sure the plant staff may correct me, but I believe we don't have all of them that are ready to be replaced. I think we're going to be looking at 2 or something, membranes?
For everybody who didn't hear, they've installed 1 new RO filter, and then they have 2 more in-house to install. Thank you.
Correct.
Just your microphone.
Any final thoughts before we go to the board item?
I think it's time for our award-winning engineer to read the recommendation.
Well, as we just discussed and described in our presentation, HAF will conduct a study to evaluate the treatment alternatives to enhance manganese removal at the SRWA. And HAF will assess alternatives for new RO membranes for the SRWA to improve capacity, performance, and efficiency. They have been selected for this project from the Water Wastewater Engineering Rotation List approved by the board on February 9th, 2026. They have submitted the proposal in the amount of $316,800. SRWA staff recommends approval of a professional engineering services contract with HAF Associates, Inc. for the Southmost Regional Water Authority manganese study for a total amount not to exceed $316,800.
Mr. President, before we make the motion, how many engineers applied for this?
On our rotation, we selected 10.
Oh,
10 in the
that's fine.
rotation
That's perfect.
list.
That's what I need to, thank you.
I just want to clarify that as the operator of the system, this was selected by the Board of the Brownsville Public Utilities Board. And although it's called a rotation list, it's really a qualification list of qualified engineers. So the qualified engineer is selected based on their expertise. And in this case, HAF was the one that was selected based on the studies and the information that they provided on that board of rotation.
Thank you for that.
Any other questions, or? Yeah,
I'll
if
make
not-
a motion, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. Okay, and I lost my paper. Okay, on to the final item. And Paul is here, so we got to stop breaking the law somehow. Okay, consideration and possible action of the Southmost Regional Water Authority bylaws on attendance by member representative of the town of Indian Lake.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the board. Paul Gonzalez, BPUB's General Counsel and Chief Legal Officer. At the request of board members, based on recent activities, changing membership on the board, appointment of officers and such, it was highlighted that the bylaws provided certain standard of attendance for members of the SRWA board. And as was noted at the last meeting, Section 4.8 says if a director does not attend 3 consecutive meetings of the board or does not attend 6 meetings of the board during any 12-month period, and the absences are not excused by the president or the board may request the governing body of the member appointing the director to appoint another person to serve as director. So this is a follow-on to that, based on the observation that Mayor Chambers of the town of Indian Lake had been absent for quite a few meetings. And just since I was monitoring the meeting on my phone coming in, but you couldn't hear me, I just want to confirm, is Mayor Chambers on remote? No? Okay. So, as I put in the summary to present this to you, the record of attendance over the past couple of years was included in as part of your materials, and none of the absences that I could see had been recorded as excused by either the board itself or by the board's president, as it's allowed under the bylaws. But notably, there's no standard for determining an excuse. What's an excuse, right? Based on recent contact with Mayor Chambers, it was the distance and timing of the SRWA board meetings that had been a challenge to attendance. And these communications, staff typically reaches out and tries to coordinate schedules, and every once in a while touches base with folks to see where things are. So under the bylaws, it's clear, and this is for your discussion amongst yourselves, it seems that there are 2 things. One is to request. You can make a request of any of the entities if there's somebody who has been overly absent, to ask the governing body of the member entity to appoint somebody else and see if we do better. One of the things that was pointed out and was that today, unlike several years ago, especially post-COVID, we do allow for remote call-in, right? So we do have that as long as we have a quorum present at our noticed public place. Members can always dial in, and that was something that was just recently relayed to Mayor Chambers. But nothing that this board can do will change membership of the board, because it's entirely up to the member organization to do anything. I do want to point out that it's really curious in getting ready for this meeting. This is the fun part of my job. I was looking at which statutes actually say what's an excuse, you know? And for the most part, the law is silent, except, curiously enough, a type A general law municipality where you might be fined $3 for each absence. Then the excuses for an absence are if you're sick or an immediate family member's sick. So that's trivia, because that doesn't apply to you guys, right? So typically what happens for excused absences, it's defined in either rules of procedure for a board or your bylaws. You sort of give a standard of what is a valid excuse. It could be, you know, death in a family, illness, conflicting job commitment, or for such good cause that the board may find, you know, and you make those two things. Here it just says unless excused by the president or the board. And we don't have a formal way of sort of recording that little tidbit of information, right? So it's just teed up for you to consider. I'm not sure what else the board may wish to address in this matter, but if you come to a decision on it, it's possible action on the notice. So if you wanted to take the formal action that's allowed under the bylaws, we can certainly do that. We could go back and bring back some other language that might put some meat to the bones about what's an excuse. There are lots of things we could talk about.
My concern, Counselor, is, this is just theory, Mr. Pace and I, we get mad at them too, and items come up for decision, and we block it off at 2-2, and nothing gets done. So I think it's important to have somebody. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be the mayor. It can be wherever they assign. I think it's important for us to have a 5-member board making a decision, because we can split it up and nothing will ever move forward if we were thinking in that way.
So the one counter argument I have is, you know, the town of Indian Lake doesn't take any of our water right now. They're a member, but they aren't actively, you know, using our water. Is that correct? Yeah.
So my understanding is Los Fresnos is transferring water from the Indian Lake to them. So in other words, it's different than the other non-active member that we have that doesn't have buy-in into this. They have a percentage of ownership through Los Fresnos.
Okay,
so they
through
are
Los Fresnos.
through Los
Okay.
Fresnos, even though they are not taking it directly, they have some sort of other agreement with Los Fresnos that we don't have that visibility at this time.
Okay, so I personally don't know if it's worth poking the bear, because, you know, they're having Los Fresnos kind of manage the water for them. However, I think actually, especially with that little bit of tidbit in there, you should really weigh in on this, because we'll do whatever you think is best, or I would do, since it's your relationship, really. Not to put you on the spot. You're welcome.
No, and it's. I know Mr. Chambers personally. His daughter's on my daughter's softball team that I coach. So it's a
Should
double
we
win.
ask how good? No.
But no, I think if you know, again, with the capability that we have to go remote with the fact that they are members and do have a piece of it, even if it's via us in Los Fresnos, they still have a piece of it. I do think that we should at least take an action on telling them, hey, let's appoint either a new member or you got to show up, something.
May I, if I may,
Absolutely.
interject? The many varieties of board action that might be taken could be through, the formal one is the one before you that's teed up. If you wanted to do something under 4.8, it may be that to the extent you have other contractual or social relationships with each other as other board members. It could be reaching out in that way. You can sort of designate somebody to sort of do that amongst yourselves. In it, I would just encourage that you consider maybe putting those, the flesh on the bones of what an excused absence might look like. You know, just think about that and consider that at some point, because we've had legacy membership, you know, in the administration in the past and on boards in the past, and sometimes it's a good refresher to see, well, why are things there, and what is the standard to which we're going to conduct ourselves to show up to meetings and be an active participant and such. So that's all I wanted to point out for you.
So is there a proposal to have the whole board show up with steel baseball bats and oh, motion. No. So well, would you, should we table it and then you have a conversation?
Yes,
and
that would be.
Okay. Okay,
That's
sounds
awesome.
good. So we'll table it. And then also, if you guys want to think about what constitutes an excused absence or not, I know we have taken attendance. I know we also haven't, I think even at PB, been marking absences excused or not. Is that something we want to do? Do we want to just say, hey, yeah, let's not worry about the details? I'll leave that up for y'all too. But maybe if desired, we could hit that at the next meeting.
Correct.
Yeah, because there's some good-looking food over on that table over there.
And I make a motion to table this item, Mr. President.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes, thank you. And moving on to the discussion on the date, time of the next board meeting.
So good afternoon, and if you look on your calendar, we do not have the scheduled SRWA meeting, but I'm assuming we will still have it on June 1st, Monday, June 1st. The PEB board meeting will be on June the 8th.
Mr. President, I want to get an excuse because I'm not going to be here next.
Okay.
Unless you all want to consider another
you guys-
date?
No, you guys do your thing.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to be here, not the whole
Okay,
month.
okay.
Be gone.
Okay. We'll I think, continue for the June 1st unless, yeah. We can always email around if we
Yes.
decide, yeah.
And for that, I may have a conflict with PEB business on June 1st, and so one of my other designees will be here on my behalf, like I have done for some of the other conflicts. Today, I almost had a conflict, and I spoke to Dr. Holman, and I was able to provide other information to the court.
Sounds good. Well, I guess I'll entertain motions to adjourn, or we could keep.
Motion to adjourn?
Oh, I'm sorry. If I may, just one real quick interjection. Like I said, me and Mr. Pace had the opportunity a few weeks ago to go check out the SRWA plant. Thank you to Renee and his team for providing that opportunity for us. I see Jacob and Michael in the audience who were, jam up, answered all our questions that we had, and I know there were probably quite a few, more than they were probably expecting. And I do want to say one thing for everyone here and anyone listening and put it in the public record is that with my background as a health, safety, and environmental advisor in oil and gas, I've been in a number of industrial settings, offshore platforms, refineries, chemical plants, water treatment as well, because we do have water treatment operations. And I got to say, the professionalism and especially one of the few things that I always notice whenever I go into a new place and just take a look around, the cleanliness and the organization. And the plant has some of the cleanest, most well-organized areas in their buildings that I've seen. Chemicals laid out in a certain way, very particular order, very meticulous. Everything down, including to the lab, which sometimes, if you're not familiar, labs can be notorious for having just crap everywhere, for lack of a better term. It was immaculate in their lab. You could have eaten off the floor. I wouldn't recommend it, but you could have. So I just want to commend the team out there at the plant for how they run that business. It's impressive.
Thank you. We're very proud of the staff out at SRWA.
They're a pretty good group. Okay, so we had a motion to,
And I will second the motion to adjourn.
and all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.